Here's a case study of a deal we just closed last week. I never visited the property, never stepped foot in, not even one time, and I didn't even speak to the seller. I'm gonna do a deal breakdown, how we got the deal, how fast we closed on it, how much we closed on it for, how I organized the contractors, and how we listed it on the market, and how much profit we made. So just to give a quick, brief rundown, I did put the HUD here just for proof. I'll zoom in on this just in a little bit, but let's go check this out. This is the property. This is when we fixed it up. This is what it looked like, and we're actually do 90% of our deals here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This is in Spring Creek, Nevada. It's in a town up north, probably around 7, 8 hour drive away from me, and I've actually never ever been there. It's a 3-2. When we purchased the property, it's, as you can see, it's like a multi-level. The living room and living space was on the second floor, still on the second floor, but we converted this basement into living space. And we did very, very basic upgrades to this property. New LVP flooring, as you can see here, you can't really tell, but like shaker cabinets, new stainless steel appliances, handles, door handles. And we had to change a few windows, and we just painted it. Very, very simple. And these are some of my favorite deals. So yeah, let's just go quickly over the numbers. So we bought it in February of this year for 150,000, and I ended up actually closing on this deal um this last week. So it's like we closed the first week of November. It did take me quite some time, but the profit was pretty good for this deal, especially for never going to the property and managing all the contractors and all the scope of work virtually. All right, so let's get into this. So let's get into the HUD right here. So as you can see, I am the seller on this property, Maher Capital LLC. This is my LLC. This is the buyer's lender, and this is the property address right here. Settlement date 10/30. We did close a couple days after this. So we purchased it, remember, for 150,000. Um, the sale price of the property was 345,000. We credited the buyer $16,000, and then this is the down payment that I had on the property. Or no, sorry, not the down payment, the existing loan. Um, the payoff was around 102,000. Was the principal balance, and then these are the commissions that I paid. I did hire a realtor on this one just because it was out of my area of expertise. I didn't really know the area that well, and it was honestly such a great decision because my realtor helped me get this to the finish line, and we did pay her hefty 3%, which is $10,000. It definitely is a lot, but in an area that you don't have specialty in, you don't have an edge in. Like, she helped me with inspectors, contractors there that I didn't have at the time. And we did send a first initial group of contractors from Vegas, but she sent the touch up team, the touch up crew that could fix basically everything that needed fixing, especially because I wasn't there. So there was a lot of, tiny blue tape items that needed fixing. And I don't want to send my guys all the way back from Vegas to stay over there. When we sent my crew actually stayed in a hotel there. I paid for the hotel for around 3 weeks to get the majority of the work done. All right, let's go through this. See, this is all of the plumbing invoices for like the repair items, really, really minor stuff. Some more, repair items, septics, like we don't have septic pumps in Vegas. We do, but very, very little. And all the properties in Spring Creek have septic pumps. So we needed a septic person out there. She had everybody that, could go check it out, repair. So well worth 3% that I had to pay. And as you can see here, this is due to seller $196,000. This is not all profit. We do have to take the rehab number out of this because the lender didn't give me the rehab budget on this and our down payment. After all said and done, we netted close to $75,000 on this deal. So how did we get this deal? All right, and how do we buy it so cheap? So this deal came from a PPL lead service. PPL stands for pay per lead. You basically give the agency, it's a marketing agency, your credit card number, and they send you leads. Yes, they are expensive, but they're very, very good leads. For example, I believe for these leads in all of Nevada, we pay around $200, and we close around 125 or 1 in 30. We should be closer to around 1 in 20. So we do need to dial in our sales systems, but we're around 1 in 25 currently right now. So when the lead came in, my salesperson called that lead within the first 5 minutes of the lead coming in. And this is very, very important. You don't want to wait, one full day or a couple of hours to call the lead. When somebody's filling out a form online, hey, I want to sell my house, they have a lot of high intent. It's not like a cold call where you're calling them, hey, do you want to offer on the property? No, they're searching up on Google, hey, I need to sell my house fast and I need to sell it in X amount of days in this city. So the lead came in again from the PPL company. My salesperson called very, very quick. We locked up the contract, I want to say within the very first week of talking to the seller. We didn't lock it up in one day. We were going back and forth in negotiations. I think he wanted close to like 190,000, 200,000. We got him all the way down for 150,000. And when I was taking a look at the spread of this deal, I knew it was going to be a great deal. So what we do very well is closing on properties very, very quick. So if a seller, just in case, because in the past I've had a lot of deals fall through because we give them a 30, 45 days closing timeline. They change their mind, a week before closing. Our price is too low. So when you guys have a good deal on your hands, try to close on the deal within 7 days. This is very, very important. Even if the seller cannot leave within 7 days and needs some time to move, give them a post possession. Even if you want to charge them for the post possession or give it to them for free. If the deal is deep enough and you have a good deal, you can give them the post possession for free. So, yeah, again, we closed in 7 days and we gave them the post possession for 2 months. So he stayed in that property. That's why it did take us a long time to, we bought it in February and closed in November because around 2 months was him just trying to get out of the property, which is okay because my hard money payments on this deal was probably around like $1,200 a month. So it's not that much. The total time probably cost me just for those 2 months post possession, roughly around $2,500. So it was very, very well worth it. And a great tip, again, I'm going to give you guys is try to close on the property as fast as you can, especially if you know it's a good deal. Especially if you're in a competitive market, like Nevada, California, Florida, Texas, there's a bunch of competition now in basically every metro market. So by the time you're under contract, and if you give like a traditional 30, 45-day close, these sellers are getting called up dozens of times before that closing time comes up. Like I used to work foreclosures and notice of defaults here in Vegas. When I would go on seller appointments, like literally on the appointment, these guys would be getting hammered. I'd be at the seller's house for an hour trying to negotiate, talk to them. They probably got 2 to 3 calls while I was on the appointment. That's how competitive it is out here. So once you have a seller, ready to negotiate, you like the price, close on it and give them the post possession. And if you think they're not going to get out of the property, what I always recommend is try to hold back, $10,000, $15,000. Or really depends on the purchase price of the deal. But like for this deal, we trusted the seller. He said he was going to get out. We don't want to give him a hard time. Honestly, we should have kept $10,000 in escrow for the post possession in case if he didn't leave. We got lucky and he did leave. But that's another great tip is I would make sure you guys have a post possession clause in your contract to withhold some money in case they don't leave because evictions can get costly depending on what state you're in. But other than that, this was a great deal. We managed the contractors all virtually. Again, I put I put all my team in a hotel. There's around 3 guys that did the property in around 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, and they stayed in a hotel. I covered the hotel. I gave them a list of all the scope of work that needs to be done. He went to go check out the property, gave me a price. I agreed on price. And you can really only do this if you work with the contractor before and you know their pricing. Yes, he did charge me a little bit extra because of the travel time. Oh, and another great tip for like virtual wholesaling, if it's near your city, you can send contractors out there like an hour, 2, 3 hours away, even like this one, 7, 8 hours away, is get the material locally to a metro because the materials in this city, because it was kind of rural, were very, very expensive. So we sent the cabinets, countertops, flooring, fixtures, from Vegas in a trailer. I order all the fixtures from Amazon, but like our flooring supplier, cabinets, and countertops, we get them for a very good price here in Vegas. So we sent that with contractor to go leave all of the materials there. That was another pro tip. I was able to save a ton of money on materials for this project. This project was supposed to cost me around $60,000 to renovate. It cost me closer to $80,000. We did go over budget just because there was a lot of knickknacks, little things that did slowly add up in price because the contractors in this area, again, like rural area, the contractors were very expensive. Licensed plumbers, licensed electricians, licensed roofers, like just to fix like a couple of patches on the roof cost us like $2,000. It was very, very expensive. And I did this whole roof for probably around like $8,000. So just to fix a couple of patches for $2,000 was very, very expensive. But we really had no choice. We had to get it done. And thankfully we were still profitable. Let me know if you have any questions about this deal. If you want to book a free coaching call with me, click the link in my bio. And yeah, again, it's free. We can go over some plans to help you get your first flip done or help you scale and do virtual flips.